So as we followed the Alpha course in the week of research, it turned into an odyssey. I had a strange journey through this week, and I think probably some of you did too in some things. First things I knew, I pulled together all the articles that I'm working from. So I needed to hear what Nicky Gumbel had to say in his Alpha thing. And the second thing you can guess on this past week that it was important that I had an accurate account of what happened in Texas. Put all the articles on my cloud and then I'm listening to them on the phone. It just reads them to me. And the end of the Nicky Gumbel talk dealt with a fella named Eddie. So remember the name Eddie. Got that? Eddie. Nicky Gumbel tells it in a very humorous way, how he's going down the sidewalk, he's out jogging or something, and then this very rather checkered-looking fellow calls down from a window and he says, "Hey, are you Nicky Gumbel?" And he looks up like, "Who's asking?" And he says, "I want to talk to you, come on up." And he said, this guy's looking kind of a very unshoveled character. So, "Well, how about you come down, we'll talk out here in public." So down comes this guy, and sure enough, he tells his story that he had been a drug addict, he had been an ex-convict, he had been really on the bottom in Skid Row, went to an Alpha course, was totally transformed during this course. Totally transformed, and he is now leading a life of bringing life to others. He's going out in Skid Row, he's dealing with the lost of the lost that we might not even be able to connect with. And so he is doing a wonderful job. All came down to this transformation, this transforming event that happened to this fellow named Eddie. Okay, well, then I had the article dealing with the Texas shooting in the Sutherland Springs First Baptist Church. And the young man's name there was Devin. This guy, too, had a checkered past. He had trouble with a number of things in his life. He actually had a fringe association with that church, and I'm sure more facts will come out. But Devin's story is obviously very different. It comes out very differently than Eddie's story. But it was interesting, same basic individual in the scenario. Well, I told you all this just to get you set up this here little story, is what happened on my phone. I don't know how this happened, but Eddie is mentioned on the end of Nicky Gumbel speaking. And and then, of course, the next in the article about Devin was in the beginning of the next. Somehow the two articles got mixed up, and my phone started reading me a paragraph from one story and then a paragraph from another story. And of course, I wasn't expecting this, so I'm listening away on Eddie's story, and all of a sudden, what? And it goes on. So I wanted to take you into my experience a little bit here. So here I am driving along, listening to this, and my phone is reading something to this effect. Remember who Eddie is and who Devin is, of course. And church is love. We're the bride of Christ. Eddie has experienced this amazing love of Jesus. That's what it's all about. The gunman who killed 26 people inside a small Texas church on Sunday was armed with an assault rifle, 15 loaded magazines, and an obsession with a family dispute. You are loved. You are loved by God. If you take nothing else away from this course, know that you are loved by God. Jesus died for you. You are a child of God. You have the Holy Spirit living within you. As investigators start to piece together a picture of Devin Patrick Kelly, more clues have emerged over the deadliest shooting in Texas history, in which the gunman massacred parishioners ranging in age from 17 months to 77 years old. You have the most powerful message in the world. You can see people like Eddie having their lives transformed by Jesus Christ. The gunman, who had a record of violence, was obsessed with a domestic dispute, officials said. He sent threatening text messages to his mother-in-law and texted her as recently as Sunday morning. not long before he carried out the mass shooting, authorities said there are many ways that he could have taken care of the mother-in-law without coming with 15 loaded magazines and an assault rifle to a church. Freeman Martin of the Texas Department of Public Safety said, "I think he came here with a purpose and a mission." Mother Teresa said this, "You can do what I cannot do. I can do what you cannot do. Together we do great things." That is the church. Well, you can imagine the impact of hearing this going on. And I said, well, Lord, this was no coincidence. Here's two guys, basically the same background, dealing with the church, two entirely different stories. And there it went, parallel, doing a head trip on me. And I said, God, so what is it that you're trying to teach me? Because we were going to have this meeting and this speaking here this morning. So at first I started going through things. Some points became obvious, is that everything that happens around a church facility isn't necessarily the church. Everything that happens around a church facility isn't necessarily the church. And everyone who enters the church building isn't necessarily the church. Everyone who enters isn't necessarily the church. And so I started looking at how this might play out a little bit. How do we flesh out these facts? And I went to a very logical place, letters to the churches. Paul speaking to the churches in his time. And he wrote to Galatia,